Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. I've mentioned a couple of times that I got this fabulous book called Quotes That Will Change Your Life from Mr. and Mrs. O. And it's such an incredible book. I can open it at any... can I do this without my glasses? I don't think I can. But it has some quotes from some of my favorite people. My favorite writer, one of my favorite writers, along with Joseph Heller, is John Steinbeck. I was amazed by John Steinbeck when I first read a John Steinbeck book, and it was called. I read two at about the same time, one after the other. One was East of Eden, and one was The Grapes of Wrath. And The Grapes of Wrath were about the families that fled from the Midwest, the Dust Bowl in America, when there was great drought, and they lost their farms, and they were conned into going to California, which they thought was going to be paradise, where you could pick an orange off a tree, and work was plentiful because they needed people to pick fruit. Well, so John Steinbeck wrote a book, the first book I ever read that made me cry, because of the way the just incredible way that he wrote. That's where I realized that a great writer is someone that will stir your emotions, and that you can go back and pick out a passage in his book that moves you every time. And John Steinbeck can do that. If you haven't read East of Eden or The Grapes of Wrath, boy, you're missing out on something really important. So, listen to this quote from John Steinbeck. Do you take pride in your hurt, not heart, in your hurt? Does it make you seem large and tragic? Well, think about it. Maybe you're playing a part on a great stage with only yourself as an audience. I love it. Another one, this is D.H. Lawrence, great writer, of course. I never saw a wild thing sorry for itself. A small bird will drop frozen, dead, from a bough, without ever having felt sorry for itself. No, it just doesn't happen, does it? And going on, it says, reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. So as long as you hold it there, who was that? Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman celebrity, let's put it that way. Right, this is Albert Ellis. I have to show my ignorance on a lot of these quotes because they evidently are of incredibly intelligent people, philosophic, and I don't know who they are. Albert Ellis, and I don't, sorry, Mr. Ellis, I don't know you. The best years of your life are the ones in which you decide your problems are your own. You do not blame them on your mother, the ecology, or the president. You realize that you control your own destiny. Gosh, who hasn't gone along saying, if only I hadn't been born to parents who had nothing, or who were too rich, or were too this or too that, I would have been a different person. I would have been more clever. If they'd been able to give me, if they'd thought about me instead of themselves, they would have given me a better education, and I would be that much cleverer now. Who hasn't said that? Present company accepted, of course. Well, of course. What's the next? We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And that was Will Durant, who was paraphrasing no less than Aristotle. Right. You are that which you are seeking. And that was St. Francis of Assisi. If you're honest, you sooner or later have to confront your values. Then you're forced to separate what is right from what is merely legal. This puts you metaphysically on the run. America is full of metaphysical outlaws. And that's Tim Robbins. I do know about Tim Robbins, a writer, a playwright, writer. Teachers open the door, but you must enter by yourself. And that's by a man called Zen Proverb. I'm just joking, okay. Would you like you if you met you? When I look at my existence, I do not look for it in myself. People focus on role models. It is more effective to find anti-models, people you don't want to resemble when you grow up. I got a few of those. So, lying to ourselves is more deeply ingrained than lying to others, because we are often so constantly in, well, you can't say often constantly, can you? We are so often in denial for the things which are actually of some importance and which we should be paying attention to, and that is absolutely for sure. So what's the other one? And I've taken off my damn glasses. I must be losing a senior moment. What's the other one? The I in me, my friend, dwells in the house of silence, and therein it shall remain for evermore, unperceived, unapproachable. I would not have thee believe in what I say, nor trust in what I do. For my words are naught but my own thoughts in sound, and my deeds thy own hopes in action. Wow, that's a mouthful, isn't it? And that's Kahlil Gibran. I think Kahlil Gibran, if I'm not much mistaken, didn't he write The Richest Man in Babylon? At one point on writing, I decided that with my cobbled together education, such as it is, as I say, cobbled together by listening to what other people say and getting books and reading them. And at one point I went through about 100 books, and I actually made a habit of asking people, what's your favourite book? What was the book you learned the most from? And I'd write it down and I'd get it. Go to the library and get it. Now, the big thing about America that you have to say, especially in Florida, is that they have this incredible library system. You can go in and you can ask for the most obscure book. I remember wanting to read a book, can't remember who, maybe on YouTube that I read about this book or saw about this book, and it was a book called Who Built the Moon? It can't get more obscure than that, can it? Well, I went into the library, the local public library in Fort Myers, and I said, I need to, do you have a book called Who Built the Moon? Nobody blinked an eyelid. They didn't think that was strange. I thought them say, who built the moon? Well, he wants to know who built the moon. No, they didn't do that. I said, who built the moon? Oh, fine. On with the computer. And then they located 2 copies. Well, we have 2 copies that are in Lee County, and we can put, you are second on the list or third on the list, and we will send you an email. Do we have your email address, sir? Yes, you do. And it took my email address, and well, I forgot all about it then, and in about 2 weeks I was reading Who Built the Moon. So, that's another video, Who Built the Moon, incredible. So, anyway, on with the quotes. To be a man is to be responsible, to be ashamed of miseries you did not cause, to be proud of your comrades' victories, to be aware when setting one stone that you are building a world. Now that was, I can't actually pronounce in French very well, but that was Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Esuperi. Esuperi. Somebody out there with an education is going, oh my God, listen to this ignoramus. I'm sorry about that. So, are we inviting all of the mosquitoes in, honey?
Yeah, wait, Han, where's the battery?
Wait, the what?
The battery of this flashlight.
The battery of the flashlight.
Yeah, you know where?
They're all in the kitchen.
Okay.
So yes, I don't always know what these French words are, but here, on to the next one. Maturity, the confidence to have no opinion on many things. That kind of reminds me of that one that I told you before, in a book that I picked up here, the only book I could find in Nana's house other than several copies of the Bible, and the man in that, I'm not quite sure, I think they were Quakers. It was about a Quaker family, I think, and the man admonishes his son, who of course is, because he's only a kid, is likely to be a bit mouthy, and he says, son, never pass up the chance to keep your mouth shut. I thought that was a funny one. Maturity is reached the day we don't need to be lied to about anything. That's a good one. That's Frank Yerby. What about this one? People seem not to see that their opinion of the world is also a confession of character. My God, isn't that a good one? And that was Ralph Waldo Emerson, of course. How many people do you know like that? And of course, whenever I say these criticisms, they may be very cutting, but of course, you and I know that it is a case of present company is always accepted. Present company is accepted. Now, this is Robert Heinlein. Now, I think that Robert Heinlein, I think he wrote a book called Was God an Astronaut? I'm not quite sure on that one. A human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship. Not sure about the con a ship. C-O-N-N. Con a ship. Design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. Gosh, would you like to be a woman and married to that man? Well, I don't want to be a woman anyway, so but anyway. Interviewer. So, to you, faith is not a comfort. Madeleine L'Anglais. Good heavens, no, it's a challenge. I dare you to believe in God. I dare you to think our existence wasn't an accident. Practically speaking, your religion is the story you tell about your life. Andrew Greeley. I like this one, Graham Greene. The trouble is I don't believe in my unbelief. I like Graham Greene. Graham Greene is a talented writer. I remember a book, I'm sure it was by Graham Greene. Probably got people out there who are Graham Greene aficionados and say, oh God, here we go again. But I remember a book that I read called Travels with My Aunt, and with Travels with My Aunt, and I'll end off on this, it was wonderful because it was dealing with the IRS, who all my life I've had problems with the IRS there, until now, and now I don't have any problems with the IRS because I don't just have my pension. Well, in it, the aunt in question that the book is about told how she dealt with the IRS. She said what you do is you write a letter to the IRS asking a question which you refer to, in which you refer to a letter that you have already sent, dated and with a copy of that letter, or not. Let me see, did she say with a copy of it? Anyway, so you write to the IRS and you say, as for my letter of the 17th, in which I asked about what was to be made about the Monday issue, I haven't received a response for that. I need to have a response before I can make any sense of what you're now asking me. And somebody at the IRS would read this and say, well, was there a letter for the 17th? No, she says in here that there's a letter for the 17th, and she's asking about what happened on Monday. So they then write back to Aunt and they say, as for your letter, regarding your letter of the 16th, where you talk about the letter from last month of the 17th, we are unsure what you are talking about what happened on the Monday. Can you please clarify? And she would then take great delight in writing back and saying, of course. Now, as for what happened on the Monday, you will remember that it was in tandem with what happened on Sunday. And we had already discussed this in my letter of the 15th. Now, your query is exactly what? And then she would send that off. And somebody at the other end would say, what? The 16th and the 15th, and it wasn't Monday, it was Sunday. And what would happen is that her contention in the book was that the file would grow and grow and grow, and she always maintained perfect communication, immediate response, calm, courteous, inquiring, and completely incomprehensible. So this was the other thing, is that rarely on the difficult cases does an IRS investigator want to find out about something which has been confusing the hell out of everybody that preceded him. So this is what happens to the file. I'll be leaving this job soon. Let the next guy deal with it. Thank you, my aunt. I always thought that that was a very, very clever way to handle the IRS. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. I hope that you're having no problems whatsoever with the IRS, but if you are, remember what Graham Greene's aunt said. Bye for now.